You know that friend who just seems to get everyone? They're the shoulder to cry on, the person who knows exactly how you're feeling without you even saying a word. They're great listeners and genuinely care about how others are doing. These people are often called highly empathetic. They can understand and share the feelings of another. Sometimes they're so good at picking up on emotions, you could call them empathy magnets. Being an empathy magnet is a wonderful thing. It helps build strong connections and makes the world a kinder place. However, sometimes because empathy magnets are so understanding and giving, they can find themselves in tricky situations, especially when interacting with people who struggle with empathy or seem to lack it. People struggle with empathy for all sorts of reasons. It might be how they learn to interact with others, or perhaps they genuinely find it difficult to understand feelings they aren't experiencing themselves. This isn't about labeling anyone or trying to diagnose personality disorders. Understanding human behavior is complex, and many factors influence how people interact. Instead, this is about recognizing patterns of behavior or tactics that individuals who seem to lack empathy might use, and how being highly empathetic can make you more susceptible to them. Knowing these tactics isn't about judging others, but about understanding the dynamic and protecting your own emotional well-being. If you've ever felt drained or confused after interacting with someone, or like your feelings weren't being considered, you might be encountering some of these tactics. Recognizing them is the first step to navigating these relationships in a healthy way. Here are 10 tactics sometimes used by those who appear to lack empathy, and why empathy magnets might be particularly sensitive to them. 1. The charm offensive, using charm to get close quickly. People who struggle with empathy can sometimes be very good at making a strong first impression. They might be incredibly charming, flattering, and seem intensely interested in you right away. This is often called love bombing in the early stages of a relationship, not just romantic ones. It can happen in friendships too. They might shower you with attention, compliments, and make you feel like the most important person in the world. For an empathy magnet, this can feel wonderful. Your natural empathy makes you responsive to their apparent warmth and interest. You might think, wow, this person really understands me, or they're so nice and open. Because you feel things deeply and connect easily, you're likely to reciprocate this intensity, quickly forming a bond. This tactic works because it bypasses the usual slower process of building trust, drawing the empathetic person in before they might notice any red flags or inconsistencies in behavior down the line. Recognizing intense, overly fast connection can be a clue. 2. Playing the victim, shifting blame and responsibility. A common tactic used by individuals who struggle to take responsibility for their actions is to constantly play the victim. No matter what happens, it's always someone else's fault, or the result of bad luck. They'll tell dramatic stories where they are always the one who is wronged, misunderstood, or suffering because of others. Empathy magnets are highly sensitive to suffering in others. When you hear someone describing themselves as a victim, your natural response is often to feel compassion, sympathy, and a strong desire to help or comfort them. You might bend over backwards to support them, make excuses for their behavior, or try to save them from their supposed misfortunes. This tactic exploits your caring nature, making you focus on their claimed pain rather than their actions or lack of accountability. Learning to spot patterns of never taking responsibility is key. 3. The guilt trip. Manipulating your sense of duty. Guilt tripping is a tactic that directly targets an empathetic person's conscience and caring nature. Someone might say things like, "After everything I've done for you," or "If you really cared about me, you would," to make you feel obligated to do what they want, even if it's unreasonable or makes you uncomfortable. Empathy magnets often have a strong sense of loyalty and a deep desire not to hurt others' feelings. When someone lays a guilt trip on you, you feel the weight of their implied disappointment or suffering. You might agree to things you don't want to do, sacrifice your own needs, or feel bad for setting boundaries, all because you want to alleviate their manufactured guilt or prove that you care. This tactic works by twisting your natural empathy into a tool for manipulation, making you feel responsible for their emotional state or needs. 4. Gaslighting, making you doubt your own reality. Gaslighting is a particularly confusing and damaging tactic, where someone tries to make you question your own memory, perception, and sanity. They might deny things they said or did, twist events to make you seem unreasonable, or tell you that you're too sensitive or imagining things. For an empathy magnet, who is often tuned into others' feelings and tries to see things from their perspective, gaslighting can be incredibly disorienting. You might start to doubt your own judgment, Maybe I am remembering it wrong? Or am I really too sensitive? Your empathy makes you consider their version of events, and their insistence on their reality can make you question your own, chipping away at your confidence and ability to trust yourself. This tactic isolates you and makes you more reliant on their version of the truth. Recognizing when someone consistently denies or twists reality is a major red flag. 5. Blaming others, always. Avoiding any personal fault. Similar to playing the victim, consistently blaming others is a sign that someone may struggle with taking responsibility. However, this tactic is less about eliciting sympathy and more about avoiding any personal fault whatsoever. Every problem, mistake, or conflict is always someone else's fault. Their boss, their friend, their family, you. An empathy magnet might try hard to understand why the person is blaming others. You might empathize with their frustrations or perceived injustices, thinking that they must have had a really tough time. Your desire to understand others' perspectives can make you accept their explanations without questioning their own role in the situation. This tactic prevents them from having to face their own behavior and keeps the focus off of them, often placing it unfairly onto others, including you. Notice if someone's stories always have them as the blameless party. 6. Boundary testing, pushing limits to see what they can get away with. Setting boundaries is important in any healthy relationship, but individuals who lack empathy may constantly test or disregard the boundaries you set. They might call it inappropriate hours, show up uninvited, ignore your no, or ask for favors that are clearly beyond what's reasonable. Empathy magnets often find it difficult to say no or enforce boundaries because they don't want to disappoint or upset the other person. Your empathy makes you sensitive to their potential reaction. You can almost feel their disappointment or frustration, which makes you want to give in. This tactic relies on your reluctance to cause negative feelings, allowing the person to gradually erode your personal limits and take advantage of your giving nature. Learning to set and enforce boundaries firmly, even when it feels uncomfortable, is vital. 7. Triangulation, pulling others into your conflicts. Triangulation is a tactic where a person involves a third party in a conflict or interaction that should really only be between the two people involved. They might talk about you negatively to someone else to gain sympathy, or use one person to communicate with another instead of speaking directly. For an empathy magnet, this can be confusing and hurtful. You might feel like you're being talked about behind your back, or manipulated into a difficult position between two people. Your empathy might make you feel responsible for fixing the conflict between the other two parties. Or you might feel compelled to defend yourself to the third person. This tactic avoids direct, honest communication and creates drama and division, making the empathetic person feel caught in the middle and emotionally drained. Recognizing when someone is involving unnecessary people in a direct issue is a warning sign. 8. Emotional blackmail, using feelings as leverage. Emotional blackmail involves using someone's feelings, fears, or values against them to control their behavior. Phrases like, "If you don't do this, I'll be devastated," or threatening to harm themselves or the relationship if you don't comply, are forms of emotional blackmail. Empathy magnets are highly susceptible to this tactic because they deeply care about the well-being of others and the health of their relationships. The thought of someone being devastated or the relationship being harmed because of something you did or didn't do can be incredibly powerful and distressing. Your empathy makes you feel the weight of their emotional threat, compelling you to give in to prevent their expressed pain or the loss of the relationship. This tactic is a manipulative way of controlling you through your own caring nature. 9. Ignoring or dismissing your feelings, making their emotions the only ones that matter. Individuals who struggle with empathy often find it difficult to acknowledge or validate the feelings of others, especially if those feelings conflict with their own needs or narrative. When you express your emotions, they might change the subject, minimize how you feel, you're overreacting, or turn the conversation back to themselves and their own problems. For an empathy magnet, having your feelings ignored or dismissed can be incredibly frustrating and invalidating. You are so used to tuning into others' emotions and making space for them that it's jarring when that isn't reciprocated. You might try harder to explain your feelings, hoping they will finally understand, or you might start to believe that your feelings aren't important or valid. This tactic works by centering the interaction entirely around their emotional world or lack thereof, leaving you feeling unheard and unimportant. Pay attention if your emotional needs are consistently brushed aside. Deset. creating dependency, making you feel needed only when it suits them. Someone who struggles with empathy might make you feel intensely needed, relying on you for support, help, or emotional validation. They might present themselves as helpless or incapable, leading you to believe that they couldn't possibly cope without you. For an empathy magnet, being needed can feel good. Your natural desire to help and nurture kicks in, and you might invest a lot of time and energy into supporting them. However, this dependency is often one-sided and conditional. They might only rely on you when they need something, and disappear or become distant when things are going well for them, or when you need support yourself. This tactic creates an imbalance in the relationship, using your helpful nature to ensure they have a reliable source of support without necessarily offering genuine care in return. Recognizing this pattern of conditional need is important. Being an empathy magnet is a gift, allowing you to connect deeply with the world and the people in it. Understanding these tactics isn't about becoming less empathetic, but about becoming more aware. Recognizing these patterns in behavior, regardless of why someone is using them, empowers you to set healthy boundaries, protect your emotional energy, and build relationships based on mutual respect and genuine care, rather than manipulation. Your empathy is a strength. Learning to use it wisely is key. And that's a wrap for this episode of Zentara Unlocked. We hope you enjoyed it. But the journey doesn't end here. To see the visuals that accompany this discussion, read the full article at your own pace, and discover our curated list of books for further reading, with links to easily find them, head straight over to Zentara.blog. That's Zentara.blog. While you're there, explore the other 5 new articles we published today, and check out our weekly ebooks, compiling our most popular topics. Don't forget to subscribe to Zentara Unlocked so you don't miss any of our 6 daily episodes. Thanks for listening, and keep that curiosity alive.